Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. I'm your host, Kiera Dent, and I have this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental Team Podcast. Hello, Dental Team listeners. This is Kiera, and I just wrapped up a week of coaching. In 1 week, Ashley and I were able to tackle 8 different offices. One location had 7, and then I did a solo office. And it was a ton of fun. It was actually a really great week. We loved it. We love working with bigger organizations. It's fun to work in solo practices, and it's fun to work in larger practices that have more than one location. The problems tend to be the same across the board. It just depends on if they're magnified or if they're microscopic as far as like centralized in one location. And so something that I learned in all of them that was a really big theme that I noticed this week was a lot of them, it was dealing with treatment plans and case acceptance. And I know we've had other podcasts in the past, but something I realized is sometimes I feel like I go into offices, and even if they're heavy podcast listeners, we're also human beings. And so often a lot of these topics just need repetition. They say repetition is the mother of skill. So today I wanted to dive into a couple of things. Hopefully they're new things. Some of them I know will be old, sprinkled into new, of just how to help both of these offices. So one office had 7 locations and another one had just 1 location. And really being able to help both of these offices when it comes to case acceptance and treatment planning, especially through COVID. So you guys have heard the podcast, assume the yes. You guys know how to be a word ninja. And the first thing when we go into treatment planning is to assume the yes. But what I did with both of these practices, I did it on a small scale and on a large scale for the solo practice and small scale for the multiple offices, was I had everybody actually do a disc profile. And the reason I had them take a disc profile is because when you can learn about yourself, you can start disc profiling other people, and you can start to pick up patterns. Just by the way people talk and walk will tell you whether they're a DI or an SC. Our DIs tend to be our more dominant, our outgoing, our extrovert personalities. Our SCs tend to be our more introvert, support roles in life. And doesn't mean that's always the case. Our DCs tend to be more of task-oriented, facts, figures, whereas our ISs tend to be more people-focused, more people-oriented. Doesn't mean that that's exactly how it is, but that just tends to be how this is broken up. So our DIs are faster talkers, walkers. Our SCs are slower talkers, walkers. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing right with it. It just depends on who you are and how we're going to actually treatment plan towards you. So I love, love, love treatment planning and having people figure out their dominance, because a lot of people, when they treatment plan, will treatment plan towards their own personality style, their own personality type, and what they would prefer, versus realizing that not everyone's just like them. Also, I did the game. I know I've shared this with you on other podcasts of changing their personas. So just because I look like Kiera, I might not actually be Kiera. I had one person tell me when she was treatment planning, I said, okay, so say I've got 5 crowns, how would you treatment plan it? And she's like, oh, well, you're fancy. I would just treatment plan it because you look like you have money. And that was so paramount, because so often we treatment plan because of what we think people look like. We think people will act this way. And guess what, guys? I told the lady, I said, well, that could be true. But what if I actually got my outfit from a secondhand store? What if I'm still wearing a wedding ring because my husband just left me and I'm too embarrassed to let people know that, so I'm putting on a facade? My house actually just went into foreclosure, and I just had $50,000 hit me with taxes through the divorce. I might look the part, but we never know the stories going on behind. Or what if I don't look like I can afford something, but I actually was just given a huge tax refund? Or there was a death in my family from some great aunt that I never even knew, but we all got an inheritance. So the reality is we never, ever, ever know what's going on with people. So you can assume whatever story you want, and it's an actual story versus fact. Sometimes we know facts, but most of the time they're just stories. And so when we can have a story, then you get to choose whatever filter or whatever story you want to have with treatment planning. My story is that every person wants to buy treatment from Kiera Dent. Everybody does. And so because that's my story, that's how I treatment plan. That's how I actually work with my offices. That's how I work with people. Is people love Kiera Dent. People are going to say yes to Kiera Dent. If you call me up and want to do coaching, we're going to find the solution because we want to work with you. That's just my philosophy, you guys. That's the story I choose to believe. So with treatment planning, I assume the yes. I know many of you have heard that. So we're going to take it a few steps further. I also am not going to assume that every person is just like me. Lots of people told me, I don't think patients are accepting it because of money. So I like to break down assumptions. So in the practices we worked with, and you can do it many different ways. Again, I've shared this before, but we're kind of wrapping it all together. So in the hygiene team, we actually are having them ask the patient, you can have a laminated form, and you ask these, what does the patient value most? Cosmetic, longevity, function, or cost? And it's funny because when I do this in an office, people always say, Kiera, don't say that because people are obviously always going to choose cost. And what I tell them, and I actually do the example, in the office, I say, okay, everybody raise your hand. What is your biggest concern? Is it cosmetic? Those of you who are concerned about cosmetic, raise your hand. We have quite a few people. What about longevity? Quite a few people. What about function? Not as many people. What about cost? It's usually not very many. I had a doctor yesterday implement this, and on all the patients he saw, he said not one of them circled cost first. And it's a heavy PPO practice. So what does that tell you? We assume the reason they're telling us no is because of money, and the actuality is not most people are concerned about cost when it comes to their teeth. So if we know that, even if it is cost, I can still treatment plan my yes around it. For example, with an implant. Well, what if they want to have an implant, but their main focus is cost? Well, guess what? I'm just going to tailor my implant treatment planning around knowing that it's cost. Okay, great, fantastic. It's going to be $1,500 for the first, and then we actually get to break this apart. Like you get to save up for the next 6 months because we can use that much time for the bone to heal, 4 to 6 months, and you can actually be saving up during that time, so we're ready to go when we see that permanent crown. That's something I love to do. So I factored in the fact that it's cost, but I didn't have cost as my driving force. It was getting the best treatment for the patient. So I love when you guys can implement this. You can put it on your route slips. One office has a patient report card that they actually give to the patient, and it checks off what the patient values most: cosmetic, function, longevity, or cost, which I actually love giving back to the patient because they take it home with them. And it also had the NDTR, so the next visit date time recare, I actually put on that route slip for them. So I thought it was such a beautiful way to loop all these things that we've talked about together to increase the case acceptance. So in the offices I implemented this, they said that they had a ton more acceptance because the doctor was able to tailor the treatment plan to this, what the patient actually values most. Okay, I see you value cosmetics most. So let's get you that beautiful smile. I see you want your teeth forever. You value longevity. So absolutely, let's find a way to keep these teeth for the long run. That's what we want to do. The doctors who implemented this told me their exams became more streamlined and they weren't giving 3 or 4 different options or even 2 different options because they knew what the patient wanted because they asked the right question. If you want to get better answers, ask better questions.
Are you guys sick of trying to figure it out on your own? I know I am. When I'm trying to run a business, sometimes I just think like there's got to be a better way to do this. And so for me, my answer has been to find someone who's done it and does it really, really, really well. Like I'm talking the best of the best of the best. I want someone who's been in my shoes, somebody who understands what I'm going through. When I was looking for the consulting business, I found a coach who literally has run a consulting business. Well, that seems like the perfect fit. So you guys, right now, we have a few spaces open in our Platinum Consulting. That is in the consulting where we actually come to your practice. We help you get systems implemented. We don't just tell you what systems to implement. We actually implement them with you and for you. You guys, it is one of the best investments I have ever made is to hire a coach who understands the business I'm in, who's lived it, who's done it. And that's what we in the Dental team do. We literally physically fly to you. So if you're sick of trying to figure it out on your own, if you just want somebody who understands you, join our Platinum. I'd love to have you. I'd love to have our consulting team come out and see you, be in your office, be with your team, and truly help you get onto the easy path of dentistry. It doesn't have to be hard. So join us in the Platinum. We'd love to have you. So I really love having everybody know their disc profile to see who they are naturally so they can break down those barriers and tendencies and assumptions. Next, recognizing that not most people are actually having a barrier against cost. Working on that perfect handoff from front to back. So we do the next visit, the date, the time. So doctor really focusing on that heavily. That is, you guys, I don't think we understand how much our doctors saying those specifics right now are going to help our case acceptance grow. I think through COVID, a lot of people ended up dropping systems that they had in place that were really tight because we became really busy. I know I do it. I don't do as long of a workout when I'm on the road as I do when I'm at home. My life is different. I'm busier, so I don't have quote unquote as much time as I used to. So when it comes to treatment planning, I loved figuring out your disc profile, then making sure we ask the patients in hygiene or with the assistants or both. Then we do the NDTR handoff to our front office of next visit date, time, and recare scheduled. So next visit would be, let's get you scheduled for that upper right. I would like to get you back in 1 to 2 weeks, and I need about 90 minutes for that appointment. Then at the front, they'd say recare was scheduled or it was not scheduled, so the front office can schedule this. Back office can absolutely 100%, please do, schedule these appointments for the front office if you'd like to, and you can actually treatment plan if you'd like to. But then after that, the next piece that's really big that we saw in several offices was the lack of follow-up on patients that did not schedule. So when patients come up to schedule, I always say go past 1 no. So, and there's different responses for different excuses. So let's say I present the treatment plan to them. So first of all, the perfect handoff, the NDTR, comes to me. Next visit date, time, recare. I'm the treatment coordinator. Okay, great. So then I'm going to talk to Mrs. Jones. All right, Mrs. Jones, how was your visit today? Glad you loved it. I know. I love Sam too. She's the best hygienist. Okay, so doctor wants to get you back for that crown on the top right. They need to get you back for about an hour, and we need to get you back in 1 to 2 weeks. So let's reserve that time. It looks like I have Wednesday, September 14th at 2 p.m. Does that work for you? So I go first to scheduling. We always do that because that puts an emphasis on treatment. I can't tell you how many people don't do this or how many people are like, no, Kiera, that's not how we've always done it. You're right. How we've always done it's not getting the results we're looking for. So we're going to change it up. So we schedule first. Schedule them first, then talk numbers. What if the patient says, but wait, how much is this going to cost? No problem. Totally going to take care of that. Dr. So-and-so is super busy. I want to make sure we can reserve a time for you, and then we'll figure out the finances. There's always a solution, and that's my job, is to help you find it. Okay? So we schedule them. Then we point to the numbers when we're presenting the treatment plan. We don't say them out loud. And then we do the power of the pause. So many people don't like that. And I ask them and I dive deep. So ask yourself these questions. I literally had some breakthroughs with some treatment coordinators yesterday. And that is, why don't you want to have the pause? And they're like, well, I feel awkward. And I'm like, okay, well, what happens if there's just silence? Well, they're going to say no to me. And I was like, bing, bing, bing. That's why we're scared. We're afraid of that rejection. So we keep filling it with space and time. And guess what? By doing so, we actually are more likely to get a rejection than not a rejection. I know it seems counterintuitive, but that is the absolute truth. So, and then I ask them, like, what happens if this person says no to you? What does that actually mean? Or what do you think they're thinking while they're not speaking? And they're like, they're thinking why they can't do this, why this is too much. And I was like, okay, fantastic. Is that a story or is that a fact? And when we can realize a lot of those stories in our minds are just made up and they're not actual facts, we're able to then create a new story. Like, could it be that they're working out their finances? Could it be that they're thinking that they have to take Johnny to soccer and they don't know how they're going to figure out the babysitter? But yeah, they were just going to take care of this. Could it be any of those other reasons? You're welcome to make it up. We don't know. We don't know. So you get to choose the filter and the story that's empowering for you. For me, I don't want to sit there and think, hey, they're about to say no to me, because that doesn't feel good to me. Instead, I say they're just figuring it out in their head and we're going to find a way to make this work. That is empowering to me. So whatever you choose to believe, you get to write the story of what they're thinking during that quiet time. So then after that, what we do is we point to the numbers and we ask them,
we tell them like, hey, so this will be your total due when I see you on Wednesday. And they'll say either yes or no. And then if it's payment options, we do, okay, fantastic. What ballpark are you looking for? They'll tell you a number and you then make the financing solution that works for them. It could be Care Credit. It could be 3 monthly payments. You name it. There's a lot of different options. We just ask them what ballpark they're looking for. Or you can use Medento or Flex that says pay in full, or do you prefer or do you want to have in-house financing or third-party financing? All right, we can ask those questions. There's lots of different ways to filter through this when we get down to that money part. So there's always a solution. One is we pay in full. The next one is that we have maybe 2 or 3 payments in-house. Another one is that we do third-party financing, Care Credit, compassionate financing. Compassionate financing, be careful. I've seen offices get into hot water where they're actually becoming the bank and they actually struggle with cash flow because what's happening is they have too many patients that are paying them and not enough patients paying in full that they're trying to finance. And so they actually can't pay bills, or they're struggling to have a good overhead because they have too many patients on compassionate financing. You can absolutely do it. Just make sure you have good, solid parameters, and we're making sure we collect really well on the other patients. So that's kind of where we sit, and then we just figure it out. And yesterday I was working with a treatment coordinator, and they got pre-approved for $1,000 on Care Credit, which was fantastic. Because I do agree, like, try and help them get approved while you're in the practice. So we actually know if they get denied, then we've got to come up with a different option. So this patient got pre-approved for $1,000. Okay, great. The treatment plan is $4,000. So we need to come up with $3,000. And the treatment coordinator asked me, like, I don't know what to say, Kiera. Like, they need to come up with $3,000. What do I do? And I said, you asked them for a solution. It's like, okay, we were able to help you find $1,000. We still owe $3,000. What do you think would be some options that we could come up with? And I can help you. And the lady literally said, you know, I can go to the bank and get a loan. I've already got my car loan through them. I can go there. This treatment coordinator, I was watching her and she almost fell out of her chair. She was shocked. She was shocked there was a solution. And the lady came up with it. She's going to follow up. She's headed to the bank that day. No problem. Oftentimes we think as treatment coordinators that we have to create the solution when oftentimes our patients can come up with the solution. I worked with another treatment coordinator. This is not a success story. We went through the options and the patient just said, well, I just don't have any money. Do you want to get this done? Absolutely. It's impacting my health. I definitely need to get this done. Okay. So this is your total. Well, I could do monthly payments. Okay. Well, we need to have this amount based on the financing that you have as an option. Patient said, I just don't know. And so we finally spun it back and said, okay, well, so these are the options. What option do you have that we can help support you on? And the patient said, well, I just need to talk to my spouse. And at that point, guess what, guys? We had to say, okay, beautiful. We'll follow up with you tomorrow. What time would be a good time that we'll know you've talked with your spouse? That way we can follow up and answer any questions you have. So that was the reality. We could not want this more than the patient wanted it. The patient wasn't willing to come, whereas the other one, they absolutely were willing to come and come up with a solution. So you just have to figure out what is going on with your patients and what needs to happen with them. Sometimes it's them coming up with their own solution. Other times it's you following up with them, which is where the treatment tracker comes into place really, really, really well. Now, I teed this up and I did not finish it. And that was, there's different answers for what to do. So different responses of what to do based on the excuses patients give you. So if it's, I need to talk to a spouse or I need to check my calendar, the answer to that I love is, hey, I would hate to forget about you. So let's just put you in the schedule. And then when you talk to your spouse tonight, we can confirm if that doesn't work out, we can always move it for you. Or when you get to the office, if that time doesn't work, we can always move it. But I, Kiera Dent, ditzy girl over here, would hate to forget about you. That's right. You're a normal human. You like to be important. You like to feel good about yourself. And of course, you don't want to be forgotten about. That will work about 90% of the time. I've tried it. I've just done it recently. It works almost every single time. Now, if they say no, fantastic. I'll give you a call tomorrow, follow up, see what questions you had. But before you go, what questions do you have? That way I can make sure you're totally solid. And so you can talk to your spouse about that. Great. So that's the answer for that. Now, if it's financing, we did walk through just recently all the different financing options and how I like to go through it and how I've heard other treatment coordinators go through it and some success and some not success stories from that happening just this week. So you guys, treatment planning is 80% psychology and 20% skills, in my opinion. You have to go into it believing that patients are going to say yes. that your doctor is the best doctor. And if you don't believe that, we got to work through that. But then you go for it and you're able to close these treatment plans. And then my last piece to this is treatment tracking. So tracking your case acceptance. I have an office right now and we're tracking all their case acceptance or their treatment plans because we're looking for patterns. We're looking to see which patterns are hesitant. Is it on a certain procedure? And if so, how are we presenting this information and can we change it to get more successes of yeses to help these patients get a better patient care? Why is it that they're needing to talk to their spouse? So we have a pattern that they all need to talk to their spouse. Do we have a pattern that it's about implants? Do we have a pattern that it's finances? Whatever the pattern is, there will be a pattern. I guarantee it. There's always a pattern. And if so, we can find that pattern and then you're able to fix it. If it's about implants, let's listen to how the doctor's explaining it. Make sure it's super clear. And then make sure what we're saying as treatment coordinators is also super clear and in the same verbiage. If it's about finances, have somebody listen. You guys record them, send them into the dental aid team. We'll happily listen in on them and give you some feedback. That is a way that we can 100% help you guys out because half the time we think we're saying it one way, but we're actually talking them out of it without even realizing it. The treatment coordinator I was talking to yesterday, she said, Kiera, it's crazy. You change one word that I said and you get a different response. And I said, yeah, isn't that awesome? It's really actually not that hard. You just have to change one or two words. One small nuance of a word can make or break a patient saying yes. Just one. I heard a doctor say, you can get these fillings done, but these ones really aren't that important. Just saying that, like, these ones aren't as important, that makes a patient hear, like, I don't need to get those done. By just saying that one word versus like, these aren't as high of a priority, definitely need to get them done. Using the word priority still works. They're going to feel it's a lot more important than saying these are not important. So those are different little nuances of words. So you guys, one of the best things I love to do with offices is to role play out treatment planning, to listen in. I listened probably to 25 exams yesterday. I'm not exaggerating that. I listened to exam over exam over exam. And afterwards we came in, okay, like, what did you love? So many people offered so many different options because they were concerned about the no, that I listened to them almost talk the patient out of treatment because they wouldn't stop talking. But yet as a treatment coordinator, we don't realize that. So record yourself on exam. Listen back. What would the dental aid team say to your exam? What do you say, or your treatment plan? What do you say to it? Doctors, listen to your exams. There's usually a key spot where you start talking them out of treatment and you don't stop talking. So there's some little tips on how to increase your guys' case acceptance to go to treatment case acceptance 2.0. As a quick recap, do that disc profiling. See your personality trait. See if you can pick it up in others. It was really fun in an office to have everybody do it and then see who was what personalities to ensure that you could pick them out of a room. Just start guessing, start seeing if you can disc profile people as to what personality trait they are and then match your treatment planning to their style. Have your hygienist ask, is it cosmetic, longevity, function, or cost? Start clearing out those stories. Is it a story or a fact of the reason they're not saying yes to you right away? And how can you change that mindset to be able to be in the mindset of empowerment? If it's not empowering, break through that. Figure out, why do you worry so much about cost? What is that? Go back to your childhood. Go back to what money means to you. This one girl, it was about security. And if these patients paid for it, she felt that she was going to make them go homeless because maybe they wouldn't have money in their savings account. Well, that was a fantastic breakthrough to realize that's just a story that's been running in the background and it's not actually truth. She's able to now break through and be free from that story that's just been running there and be more confident in her treatment plans. And the last thing I'd say is, if you'd like, sometimes I help people. Sometimes it's hard to change Kiera, like, oh gosh, but I believe that. But I could create another name. So maybe it's a really strong, powerful name for me. I don't know what name I'd say. Right now, I'd probably say like, Vanessa. I'm going to say my alter ego is Vanessa. And Vanessa is a strong, powerful, confident, like super bad A woman that walks in and it's like, we are getting this done and I'm finding the way to do it. Okay. So if I'm not as confident, I can channel Vanessa when I'm ready to do a treatment plan. And I actually can go into that and I can start training myself that when I show up for treatment plans, I'm Vanessa. I'm not Kiera, because Vanessa is this person that has the opposite or maybe an enhanced version of the characteristics I'm looking for, Vanessa is not concerned about money. Vanessa knows there's always a solution. Vanessa knows that no matter what challenge they give her, she will find the way. Okay? You can absolutely do that, and you can have a ton of fun with that. And sometimes that's easier. I know I have to take on a persona of some different people when I need to make strong decisions or when I have to have certain conversations with people. So that might be a way, if you're struggling with money or with rejection or other things as a person, maybe make up another name and channel that person. I know that sounds ridiculous. It works so well, you guys. And then you'll just train yourself that as soon as you say, all right, this person, we're going in, we're doing a treatment plan, they're going to say yes, and I'm going to find the way to help them say yes. Those are some of the best tips I can give you guys right now. Coming off the road, coming in hot. Try it out. Let us know. If you have questions or you want us to help your treatment coordinators, let us know. Hello is what I'm trying to say. Hello at thedentalateam.com. We would love to help you out. This is what we do for our platinum practices. It's what we do for our gold practices and our silver practices. So gold, silver, or platinum, all get help with this. So let us know. We're happy to help you guys out. And as always, thank you so much for listening. And we'll catch you next time on the Dental A Team podcast. Guess what's back, you guys? Women Dentists Connect. Yes, Dr. Summer Casmel and myself are putting on our first ever virtual event. We did it last year. We had raving fans, and due to COVID-19, we decided we're going to continue on. So mark your calendars, November 13th and 14th. All women in dentistry. We don't care who you are. If you're a doctor, a treatment coordinator, scheduler, biller, office manager, spouse, we want all females to come with us to Women Dentists Connect. So pop on over to our website, womendentistconnect.com. Tickets are on sale right now. And we even did a thing where it's your entire team can actually come. We want all of you to come. It's going to be CE. We're going to talk about mom guilt, how to run a successful business. We're having an incredible speaker lineup with Dr. Mark Costas. He's our only male cameo. We're having Desiree Yazdan on social media marketing, Aaron Elliott, who's talking about sleep apnea. We're also bringing on Dr. Amanda Wilson to talk about ortho. And of course, Dr. Summer Casmel and myself will be there talking about how to hold your team accountable, how to run effective meetings. So don't wait. Get on over to womendentistconnect.com. I'll see you guys November 13th and 14th.
And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental A Team podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.